Hey, welcome to a special edition of Sports Seriously. I'm Ralphie Aversa. Today we're celebrating one of the greatest tennis legends ever, Serena Williams. Serena's professional career began in 1995, and the game hasn't been the same since. She's won 23 career Grand Slam singles titles and 4 Olympic medals, cementing her place among the best who have ever held a tennis racket. As she begins to transition away from tennis, we'll look at all angles of her career and her impact on society. First up, USA Today sports columnist Nancy Armour, who shares what Serena's legacy means to so many people, both on and off the court.
She is the best player of all time. And I think, that goes without saying for women's tennis, but I think she also has to be in the conversation for the best tennis player, period. 23 Grand Slams. It's one shy of Margaret Court's record. But when Margaret Court was playing, the times were a lot different, and the level of competition was not what it has been during Serena's time. So to me, Serena is the best. From the first time that Serena and her older sister Venus burst onto the tennis scene, they changed the game of tennis. Obviously, they were Black teenage girls from Compton. You hadn't seen that in tennis before, so it was. I don't know if I want to call it a reckoning, but it forced tennis to really kind of look at itself and look at diversity. And, you see that now reflected in the people who are playing tennis. Whether it's the Americans or even women from overseas, it's not a white sport anymore, which that is cool. But to me, the biggest thing that Serena did, the most impressive thing that Serena did is that she demanded and commanded the respect and the riches that she deserved. She wasn't content to just be the best woman tennis player, the best female athlete. She wanted to be considered the best, and she forced people to recognize her as such. She and Venus fought for equal pay in the Grand Slams. Now all 4 of them have it. That wasn't the case even 15 years ago. But it's really the way that we look at female athletes differently. And Serena was a big part of that. She has talked about her body that, when she was growing up, she wasn't necessarily comfortable. She is, she's not a waif. She is not tall and really thin like Venus is. She is curvy. She has muscles. She has power. And you've seen her own that over the years. She's, the outfits that she wears accentuate her body and celebrate her body. And it has been so cool to watch a woman do that and make it okay for every other woman to do that too. So she has really been a role model and really paved the way for women in so many areas, beyond just tennis.
Earlier this year, our Mackenzie Salmon had the opportunity to sit down with outspoken tennis legend John McEnroe and get his perspective on Serena as well.
So we've obviously been blessed to see the Williams sisters really, on the American side, legitimize us as a tennis power for the past 20 plus years. And all that to say that there's still rumors of Serena's retirement continuing. I'm curious for you what your advice would be to her as she contemplates her future. And honestly, do you feel like she even has anything else to prove at this point?
There's 3 answers, the 3 questions she asked. One would be she should do whatever she wants. She's earned that right. 2, she's like an icon, where her place in American society has just gone to a place where she deserved after everything she's accomplished and everything that she's done. And I don't know the answer whether she wants to play again. I don't think she needs to play again. She's sort of in that level of where Michael Jordan and LeBron James and, Tom Brady are. I mean, she's like one of the all-time greatest athletes in the history of any sport, male or female. So she's at it seems to be a great place in her life. If she wants to come back and compete and prove that she can win a few more, that's up to her. I mean, she's 40 years old, so, that's not easy when you're out there by yourself. And she's got a lot of other interests, but she's added obviously a lot. It's anyone that saw the movie, realizes where they came from and where she is now. It's unbelievable. So she could spend the rest of her life just going, not bad, huh?
Serena's announcement in Vogue made headlines around the world, but she also made it clear that she has new projects in the works. She indicated to us earlier this year that she wants to keep dipping her toes into Hollywood projects, both in front of the camera, as she kept joking to me, "Am I an actress now?" Yes, you kind of are, Serena. And behind the scenes, her and Venus making the rounds throughout award show season as King Richard went on to receive a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. Still, for a professional career that began back in 1995, it's hard to imagine what things will be like for Serena without tennis. Thankfully, our Andy Nesbitt and Mackenzie Salmon were up to the task.
Serena Williams is calling it a career. In a feature with Vogue, the legendary tennis player said she's evolving from her playing days and is looking to grow her family and begin her life after tennis. Our friend Ralphie Aversa caught up with Serena Williams back in February to talk about her interests beyond tennis. So let's take a look at what she has to say there.
My colleagues now, because remember, am I an actress now, or a producer? My colleagues are giving it full credit and saying, it is well deserved.
Serena, we saw that DirecTV AT&T Matrix commercial so many times during the football season. You're an actress. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We don't have to ask anymore.
All right, Andy, so Serena clearly will succeed in whatever she decides to do next. It has nothing left to prove on the court. You and I both said that. But it is important to note, we do get to see her one last time at the US Open, and boy, that's a hot ticket right now. Because after her announcement, ticket prices skyrocketed for the event, as you can imagine. So what do you anticipate the scene looking like at Flushing Meadows?
Well, I hope it's going to be a huge celebration. It's a perfect place to do it. New York City, the US Open, a place she's won many times before. And all of her matches need to take place on center court. Arthur Ashe Stadium has to be rocking. Prime time, under the lights, New York City going crazy, celebrating the GOAT, one of the greatest athletes of our time, and also one of the greatest people of our time, right? Everything she's done off the court, all the lives she's changed, the path she's taken to be here. It deserves the biggest of New York City celebrations. I hope it's on every night in prime time, and I hope she makes a run in this thing.
And finally, it's a conversation that Sports Talk Radio was practically built on. Give me your all-time Mount Rushmore. I'll hang up and listen. No, seriously, where is Serena's place, though, on tennis's Mount Rushmore? Thankfully, our Mackenzie Salmon was able to discuss just that with tennis great Martina Navratilova.
I'm curious, in your opinion, how did she change the face of tennis in terms of getting women equal footing to the men?
Well, I think we were on the way to getting equal prize money and all that, but what the sisters did but because of the visibility they had, they brought women's tennis into prime time. It was only men's tennis that was there before. Somehow we weren't good enough, but they just kind of ascended the sport in a good way, where they put the US Open women's match on prime time rather than in the afternoon. And of course, Serena just took the whole thing to a whole new level with her physicality and her determination and results. I mean, winning all those majors. Particularly, what impressed me the most about her, perhaps, is winning those majors after the age of 30. Because I had a hard time. I think I only won 3 after I was 30.
That's
and
still
a couple finals. But she's she went strong. She didn't play as many matches, so I think she paced herself really well throughout her career, which is why she lasted as long as she did. But still, to be competitive, particularly after 35, it just gets harder. And she still managed, and then she had a kid, and she still competed and got to a bunch of finals. So yeah, just took it to a whole new level of competitiveness and visibility.
How would you compare the level of competition you played against Serena in her time? Like, what is Serena's place on the Mount Rushmore of tennis players?
There's a place, obviously, as there's a bunch of other people on that mount. So trying to compare generations is like trying to compare presidents. They have different issues, different things that they got accomplished or didn't. So it's really difficult to compare generations in any sport, but particularly tennis, especially now when the racket's really changed and the strengths changed the game so much. But she's one of the greatest of all time, period. Obviously, men and women together. And I laugh. I just did something for her farewell And I laughed because I remember when she and Venus were saying, oh, there's no way we're going to play. I was still playing when I was in my 30s. There's no way we're going to play into our 30s. 25 maximum. Right? And here they are in their 40s.
It's casual.
So they refuse to act their age, and I love it.
I love it. I'm curious too, if you personally had known during your career that Grand Slam count was going to become as big of a deal as it is now, do you think that you and even Chris Evert would have played more Australians and French Opens?
Absolutely, of course. It was a completely different landscape back then. I couldn't tell you at any given time in my career how many majors I had won. I could tell you how many Australians I won, how many Wimbledons, but I didn't know the total because nobody cared about the total. It was a different ball game. Didn't even go to Australia a bunch of years, French Open. For us, the biggest tournaments were Wimbledon, US Open, and the WTA finals at the end of the year. Played that every year, no matter, come rain or shine. But it's just a different measuring stick, which is why you see so many players winning so many slams. Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, that's all that's for. They schedule the whole year around peaking at the majors, and basically the tournaments is more of a warm-up. It's paid practice, basically. For us, it was supporting the tour. Next year, we're celebrating 50 years of the formation of the WTA, and the WTA Tour started with Virginia Slims, and now it's the WTA Tour, and we supported that. I played 18 tournaments a year, most years, and the WTA person would tell me, we need you in this tournament, we need you in this tournament, because we need to support it. And they split Chris and I up. We would have played each other more, but they split us up. Literally, okay, you play Hilton Head, you play Amelia, because we cannot have you play both of you playing one, and then nobody the other. We were the big stars back then, and we really need to support the tour that way. So, like I said, I would have played less, and I would have concentrated on the majors and would have gone to every single one. So, the total would have been different, but who knows?
What type of scene are you expecting there to be at the US Open? And also, how special is it playing in New York for the Open?
Well, I mean, the Open is a whole new ball game, right? It's the fans are pretty vocal here anyway. And now after COVID, they were pretty vocal last year, just so happy to be here. And now this is the first Open in 2 years that was in 3 years, that it's a full complement of no rules, no restrictions. Everybody can come and everybody can watch. And it's gonna be really crazy atmosphere. And of course, Serena's playing her first match on Monday night. We'll be opening the night session, and they do the flyover, and it's just it's pretty special. So I just hope that she wins a few matches. Who knows? She could have a fairy tale ending. Probably not, because she just hasn't played enough. But it's gonna be a spectacle every time she steps on the court, as well it should be.
I'm not sure how much you keep up with some of the younger female tennis players, but if you do, who do you think might be the next great Serena?
Well, those shoes will not be filled, literally and figuratively. But Coco Gauff, of course, great talent. Meantime, Sloane Stephens and Madison Keys played really well last week in Cincinnati, and I think they're feeling pretty good about their chances because they're playing well and they're healthy. But the younger generation, I think Coco Gauff, obviously the biggest talent of them all, and she's been rising up in the rankings. And there's no doubt that she will win a major if she stays healthy. The only question is how many. But when I started out, I didn't want to be I didn't think, I'm going to have a career Grand Slam, or I'm going to have a Hall of Fame career. I wanted to be number one. That was my goal, and wanted to win Wimbledon. But that was it. But these days, the goals are winning majors, as many as possible, and Coco will do that. It just needs to stay healthy.